Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Masterclass as we get productive with unproductive failure. Isn't that a dichotomy, getting productive with unproductive failure? So, if you all remember, we started with affect and we have reached assembly. We also looked at other stages in the middle, if you remember. Can you quickly type the 4 stages in the chat box? The 4 stages, all beginning with A. Please type them in the chat box. That will tell us we are ready for today. We are designing productive failure. We started with activation. Please put the 4 A's in the chat box. Then we will start designing productive failure. I'm waiting patiently for everyone to do it. Yeah, good. Can you put them in order if you remember them? Yes, people are writing 1, 2, 3, 4. Absolutely brilliant. Manisha, please unmute Shalu.
Pardon, sir?
Please unmute Shalu Sharma.
Yes, sir.
Shalu Sharma. I won't trouble you too much. Can you just tell us the 4 stages which you have so beautifully mentioned? Say them out aloud so that we are able to get across to everyone.
Shalu, ma'am, you are unmuted. You may talk.
Jai Sir, Jai ma'am.
Jai Hind ji.
Sir, I have mentioned the 4 stages of productive failure. The first one is activation, then awareness. The third one is effect, and the last and fourth one is assembly.
Brilliant. Do you want to tell us something about activation?
Activation, that is also failure-based activation. And why doesn't it work in the very first stage? How people fail? I think this is it.
Yeah.
What it is
You
all
remember
about.
any experiment or any example which?
Yes, sir. The experiment of Amy and Ben.
Yes,
Played
absolutely.
again.
Annie and Ben experiment.
Yes, sir.
Anything you remember about awareness?
Awareness. Then, sir, somehow we became aware that how do we have to process or how do we have to proceed towards the uh, success by
Yes.
failing also.
Yes, yes, good, absolutely. And if you remember in the awareness stage, they kept doing post test to see
Yes,
what
sir.
the awareness level was. And finally, in
Yes.
the affect stage, where they showed you that last kick which pushed you. You remember what the affect phase was? How the last kick was pushing you. That
So
was the
not
affect.
exactly.
That
Not
was the
exactly.
effect
I
phase.
remember.
And finally, the assembly phase. So thank you, Shalu. You've been very kind and gracious and courageous and
Thank you
productive.
so much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
You joined us yesterday at the Brewing Knowledge session.
Yes, sir.
Would you like to tell the people here what they are missing out? Because 100 signed up and
So
10
that
came yesterday.
Sir, actually, that was wonderful for me. I enjoyed a lot. That was the means it was all about the early stage of a child, that how a child develops, and ma'am told the psychology behind that. So I completely enjoyed that. That was good. A very new experience for me.
Yeah, and that example about a child's brain being so heavy that the child's body
Yes, sir.
wobbles.
That was nicely, excellently explained by you, sir.
Yeah, very, very nice. Everyone thought that maybe the brain size changes, But the interesting
Yes, sir.
thing was it was comparative to the body size.
Sir,
So
I thought it to be a very stupid question, but I thought that I should put it.
no, see, that's productive failure. Don't say stupid
Yes,
question.
sir.
That
Yes,
was
sir. Here I can. I think, sir, I can put it here.
yeah, you
That's
can
the
productive
good stage.
failure. I say you look productive failure. So it's very interesting. We are reading this book. What did you ask at school today? Two things. The brewing knowledge session is only open for those schools who are partners, and individuals who work in those schools are most welcome. The brewing knowledge session is a meeting, it's not a webinar. So there is a fair amount of interaction. There is fair amount of interesting narrations and digressions from reading. That's why it's called brewing knowledge. And then in the session, we read one story from Rumi every week. So just to let you think, and I'm sure Shalu, who started reflecting yesterday, did write a message. Thank you for that, Shalu. We expect many more reflections. Nilashi is the co-host for the Friday session, and she'll be happy to receive comments and feedback from you. We have shared the video of the Friday session in the Teachers Academy today. So if you have any questions from the video, you can type in the teachers of not cheaters but Teachers Academy WhatsApp, in which you're all there. There are 225 of you in that WhatsApp group. We have over 1100 registrations for Saturday. Now, obviously, we don't have the 700 plus because we don't have them part of the Good School Alliance. Those are people who have signed up from LinkedIn and who some of them may be here. We welcome them. What we have done for the Teachers Academy on Saturday, we have a macro objective. We want to reach out to 1,000 teachers and help them with professional learning. So with that plan, we set up the Masterclass this year, and we registered over 1,000. We hope to do something constructive with them as we go along. So I'm leaving behind two things for you to think. There is a video of the Friday session just shared in your WhatsApp, and what Shalu was talking about, brain size. It's a fascinating evening read. So join us from next Friday. You're most welcome. Second, we are building this Saturday property into a large game changer for teachers. So whether teachers pay or they don't pay, whether schools pay or they don't pay, we'll be happy to welcome them on Saturday. That's the whole idea of being a foundation and empowering teachers, helping teachers build their identity and help them experience something known as productive failure. I think the next stage for us is going to be the art of thinking clearly, which is now building up. So as we finish productive failure, we will be working on the art of thinking clearly. So if you see the narration of productive failure, it actually encourages you to think clearly. And last time, one of our panelists had mentioned that it just connects the two books all together. And Jugdeep sir will tell you all books get connected. It happened on Friday. We ended up connecting the Rumi story with what did you ask your teacher? It's interesting how we're able to do it. And you should actually try and attend one of our sessions. Thank you so much. That was a bit of a digression. So we will now start the next phase of productive failure. We may not read Art of Thinking Clearly today, as we need to focus on part 3, designing for productive failure. We will see how the time goes. It's 5:40 p.m. now. Part 3, designing for productive failure. Oscar Wilde once remarked, experience is the hardest kind of teacher. It gives you the test first and the lesson afterward. This is the most beautiful way to describe productive failure. The words capture the essence of life's unpredictable school, where the tests often come unannounced, leaving us to glean the lessons in their wake. Sometimes these lessons are manageable, other times so painful that they take a toll on us. Still, the importance of learning from these tests is necessary. But what if we could design these experiences, these tests, without the pain and suffering, in a way that still challenges us, but within framework that's safe and supportive. This is where productive failure comes into play. In a way, transforming Weil's observation into a principle that not only educates but does so in a safe and assuring manner. Unlike life's harsh tests, productive failure is a deliberate design where challenges are set within boundaries that encourage risk taking without the failure of devastating consequences. It's akin to practicing tightrope walking with the safety net below. The fall is not the focus, the learning from each misstep is. By engaging in tasks that are designed to push our limits within a supportive environment, we learn resilience, creativity, and problem solving skills more effectively. The challenge is one of design. We understand the science behind productive failure, but how do we translate the science into design? Imagine two cars, a sleek, lightning fast Ferrari and a reliable, family friendly Volkswagen. Though they may sit on opposite ends of the automotive spectrum, both must adhere to the same fundamental laws of science. Mechanics dictate how they move, material science ensures they are strong and durable, and thermodynamics govern their engine's efficiency. However, knowing these scientific laws isn't enough to design a car. If it were, every car might look the same and serve the same purpose. Instead, engineers rely on design specifications, a blueprint that tells them whether they are crafting a high performance sports car or an economical family vehicle. These specifications guide the application of scientific laws, tailoring them to produce vastly different outcomes based on the desired features, performance, and audience. Just as the laws of science underpin both the Ferrari and the Volkswagen, the underlying mechanisms of productive failure, the four A's of activation, awareness, affect, assembly. Please, all of you, type this in the chat box. I want to remember the sequence of these four. Just type this sequence in the chat box right now: one, two, three, four. It starts with activation. And once the activation happens, then awareness will happen. The sequence is very important. Without this, you cannot design productive failure. Let's move ahead. Are grounded in the science of how we learn. However, understanding these mechanisms is just the starting point. Much like knowing physics and material science is for car design. To effectively implement productive failure, educators and designers need a set of design specifications. These are not physical blueprints. Instead, they are a set of principles that help us design a productive failure experience for others and for ourselves. The next two chapters take on these very two questions. How do we design productive failure experience for others? To learn deeply in a safe way. And how do we design such experiences for ourselves so that we can accelerate our growth without waiting for life's tests to happen? Onward now in our journey of designing for others. I'm going to take a pause from here to look around. If anyone wants to talk or share anything, please put your hand up or write in the chat box. This is the pause. It's a section start. So if you have anything to be asked from the last section, or if you feel that there is something which you want to discuss here, I'm happy to bring you in. If you wish for me to read on, please type in the chat box, read on. And if you wish to say something in the chat box, say, yes, I want to say something. A second, let me see. Let me get a few read-ons, so which will help me prepare that you are ready for us to read on. Thank you. Yeah, so all of us have got activation, awareness, affect, assembly in good order. Let's read on. Chapter 7, Designing for Others. One of the common but unfounded criticism of productive failure is that maybe it is not for everyone. Perhaps productive failure is better suited for those with higher abilities, motivation, and resilience, because those without these attributes may get frustrated and give up, making failure unproductive. I argue that when we attribute a quality like motivation to an individual, such as when, say, Julie is motivated but John is not, we are making an error. Motivation is not something an individual possesses in fixed quantities, like having green eyes or black hair. The same is true for ability or resilience. These qualities are not something an individual possesses, but instead are best viewed as an interaction between the individual and the learning environment. In a well designed learning environment, more people will appear resilient and motivated. If these concepts are conceived as interactions, the burden is then on the designer to design the learning way that motivates students, develops their abilities, and helps them build resilience. And this is precisely what the design principles of productive failure aim to do. But what are the design principles in the first place? When I first started out as a professor in 2006, I was lucky to have a great set of colleagues, and among them, one of my early mentors, Kate Bilak-Zik. After one of my presentations on productive failure, where I presented my research and findings, she asked me a simple question. Manu, if you were to ask a teacher to design a lesson using your theory of productive failure, what exactly would you tell them they should do? And how should they go about it? This simple question sparked a series of conversations and discussion about the core features that make productive failure. Productive failure, much like what makes a Ferrari, and not any other car. What are its distinguishing and defining features that make it a Ferrari? In the same way, what are the distinguishing and defining features of productive failure? In the way the activities are designed and students are engaged, how they participate and interact, and the kind of norms and expectations that drive their learning in the room. It took Kate and me almost a year to pin down the key features and characteristics of productive failure and describe them in a way that the teacher could use to design a productive failure lesson. We call these defining features and characteristics the designing principles of productive failure and publish them in our 2001 to Kapoor and Bill Zick 2012. You might have noticed that several times in the earlier chapters, I've qualified my claims with caveats. When designed well, well curated, based on productive failure principles. I did this to signal that productive failure has its own set of design principles, and only when learning is designed based on these principles can we call it productive failure and expect powerful learning outcomes. Figure 7.1 presents the three-layered design framework of productive failure. Let me get this for you. I have an interesting question to ask. Let me find the book. Yeah. This is the book, Productive Failure. And he talks so much of Ferrari. On first shot, what is common between the Ferrari and productive failure? What comes to your mind? Here is the book. And when you say Ferrari, what comes to your mind? I'm giving you a hint by that. What else?
It's red color, Ferrari.
Yes, it's red. And now today it's known as Ferrari red. It's qualified in design terms as Ferrari red. So Gurdeep, the color is
A red.
Ferrari red.
Yeah, Ferrari red.
This is what I was waiting for you to say. So it's a Ferrari red color. And when you wrote your report the other day,
Yeah.
I had
I
to
mentioned orange.
get the red color. You started with orange. Yeah, the digital screens mess up it all, so don't worry about that. It's actually a Ferrari red. So here we go. I wanted to bring that to you. Let's get back. Gurdeep, would you like to go through the chart and task participation?
Yes, I'm looking at the
Have a look
channel
at the
and
chart.
yeah,
Now, this is a very interesting chapter because it brings back what we have done in the last 6 chapters, actually.
I think it is encapsulating the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah. So you have a social surround, which means you have to have a safe space for exploration. What could be renorming? Would anyone like to Google and find out what is renorming? Jugjeev sir, the Google guru. Mind setting. Mind setting. Then the participation stage comes. So first you create a social surrounding. The next layer is you are putting in place the participation stage. Supportive collaboration, facilitating, explain your idea, hack your idea, and finally set tasks. So now that you are designing your productive failure and you have come all the way, this is the time to attempt to design a productive failure experiment. And I repeat what I've always been saying. If you want to come up with a larger experiment, do a group experiment. It'll be worth your while. Spread it over the next 6, 8 weeks and be ready by December to showcase your experiment. For people in Varanasi, we are there in the month of October. So I'm sure we'll get to meet some of you. We may be able to even experiment some productive failure on the retreat if Jugjeev sir allows. Yes, Jugjeev sir.
Yeah, sure, sure.
What about renorming?
Renorming is going, resetting a standard, right?
So it's very akin to reset. So what happens is when you create your safe social space, sometimes the standards which you have and the standards which are external need to be balanced. That's the way I'm trying to explain it. So setting the norms or setting the standards, that's the how the word comes. The task has to be challenging but accessible. It has to be contextualized. There have to be multiple solutions, effective draw in it, contrasting cases, varying cases, and minimize computation needs. Over to you, Gurdeep. Would you like to read from here?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. Please read.
So figure 7.1, 3 layers of productive failure design. The 3-layer design framework specifies principles for designing the task, which is nested within the participation, which in turn is nested within the social surround. One task. A productive failure task is not just any hard or challenging task. A good task has certain properties and features, and the task level principles provide a set of specifications for how to design these properties and features. Two, participation. How students participate in the task designed for them is also a key. Here again, There are specific ways to structure how students interact with each other and engage with the task. So participation structure principles provide a set of specifications for how to design such features. Then the third layer, that is social surround. Learning does not take place in a vacuum. It is a cultural activity, and designs such as productive failure work well when we create a safe space for students to fail and learn. Now the question comes, how do we design such safe spaces? What properties and features do such spaces have? Social surround principles specify the values, norms, and expectations of such safe spaces and ways to build such spaces. Finally, one has to go through several cycles of iterative design process that help calibrate the design to particular context within which it is to be used or implemented. So these are the three layers.
Thank you. So the layers are there in your WhatsApp, and Gurdeep has so kindly read about them. So now when we are going into the design stage, and for some of you who have made the initial attempt to do the design, maybe your post which is there in the blog, you can now extrapolate it. And if you've already got a post in the blog, you can extrapolate and create these layers in it. Improve your presentation, send your blog post the next again. So showing where all these elements are in it. So that'll become your second post. As we go along and design elements are highlighted, you can create a successive post. So one way of doing your 4 or 5 posts is like this. Pick up your first post. We are meeting today. It's Saturday. It's the 6th. We will meet again today, next week on 13th, 20th, and 27th. So you can keep upgrading your assignments versions, and you can actually create 5 versions of your assignment. I've given another way of 5 submissions, because every time you subject your assignment to another test, you're doing nothing but following the productive failure example of test, post test, and subsequent learning. Gurdeep, is that a good thought?
Yes, sir.
Very simple way. If you got a
Mhm.
basic assignment which you've written, you can now use these. And every time, like what we like today, we've given you the layers. So you just tell us where your layers are. That can become your second post.
Mhm.
And Paul sir and
I
me
think
discussed, yeah,
that will be more structured, like if
more
you follow
structured.
this design.
Yes, absolutely. I was waiting to hear this word from you. That will make it more structured. And more we structure productive failure, the better our final outcome will be. So if
Mhm.
you have to look at it that way, I think you all must think that how you can do this. And it's important for you now, it's the month of September, and you have to close your masterclass in the month of December, is to please get into the design phase with the 4 elements. Pick up your assignment, find out what are the 4 phases in your assignment. That could be your first phase of the assignment. Second phase, how do you show safe space, task, and the design? That could be your second part of your assignment. And likewise, as we read ahead, other parts will come. We are now focusing more on helping you with your assignments, because I think it's our duty as teachers, coaches, to help our students, teachers, peers, learners. Designing the task. Let us re examine the productive failure task illustrated in Chapter 2, Figure 2.1. It is a problem solving task in mathematics, but it has certain features or properties that make it a good task, independent of the domain of mathematics. What are these features or properties, and can we distill them so that we use them to design such tasks in any domain? Can we articulate a blueprint that any designer in any domain could use to design? That is the aim here. One of the effective ways to distill the features of good productive failure task is to contrast it with a bad one. An example contrasted with the non-example. Figure 7.2 presents this contrast between a good task, which is the same as the one in chapter 2, the bad task. So here we are, the good task. Amy and Ben are two basketball players in a league. The table shows you saw all the tasks. We saw the standard deviation. I'm sure all of us will remember what we did in this. Just look at the figures for a moment before we talk further about them. Have a look at the chart. Good task and bad task. A good versus bad productive failure task. Before reading further, it might be good if you could spend some time comparing the contrasts, the good and the bad tasks. That's what I'm asking you to do. And generate your own list of features that you deem make the good task good and the bad task bad. Remember, the goal of these tasks is for novices to generate and explore solutions that will prepare them for learning from subsequent instruction. It is against this preparatory goal that the two tasks ought to be compared. Once you have generated about 5 to 7 features, read on. To be effective, productive failure tasks should include the following 7 features, which often take 2 to 3 iterations to develop. It's an interesting phase to actually take a pause and put this in your WhatsApp and make you do this exercise. So you have this with you. Try and guess. This is your productive failure exercise. Compare the two tasks.
I would say this is very interesting. Task and bad task.
Yeah. So what are we saying? Good for you to spend time comparing and contrasting the good task and bad task and generate your own list of features. It's an assignment now, right away. You can take this screenshot you have, post it on the blog, and list out what you think goal of these tasks is for novices to generate and explore solutions that will prepare them. So you need to find out what are the 7 features. Generate 5 to 7 features. That's the task. Generate 5 to 7 features of a good task. Generate 5 to 7 features of a bad task. Am I right in my question, Gurdeep? Maybe my question is not understood if I can't explain it.
No, sir. It is understood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So about 5 and 7 features. We will not read today beyond this because it may be a good idea to leave it there. So just rattle out the question, Gurdeep. I'll type it out. Design or list out.
List out the features
5 to 7 features
of a good task.
of a good task and
compare the features with the bad task.
yeah, and compare the features with the bad task. Okay. Could you read my message if it explains, or I need to edit the message? I can do that if it's not. Let me see how I can write it better. Yeah, I'll put the question for you there today. If you feel that you want to write in WhatsApp, please do. We are happy to accept that. Also, if you look at scroll up in your WhatsApp, we've started posting something interesting. Today I posted the courage to be disliked, which I could connect to productive failure, and that's why I posted it. This is a big challenge in productive failure. You don't want to go against social norms. You don't want to take the risk. You want to conform. You don't renorm. And that's what this whole book is about. Courage to be disliked. It's there in your WhatsApp. And above that, we have started sharing something from Cybernetics 360. There's huge amount of content which is kind of pouring in these days. Yes, it's coming now. Simply, you've reached a phase of designing your assignments of productive failure. That's why this food for thought. That's why this rich content which is being generated. So in your chat box, on a scale of 1 to 5, if you look at the last few weeks, please tell us what you feel about the content which we have generated. Is it making you think? That is a question. Is our content making you think? Gurdeep, please type in the chat box. Is our content in the Teachers Academy chat making you think? Question mark. That's the question. Once you answer this, then we will try the art of thinking clearly. And where is the content which we are asking you to think about? Cybernetics 360. Some of you have started looking forward to reading it in the morning. And thank you for cheering us up. Thank you for encouraging. Your emotions reach us when you read them. Thank you for all that. We love you because you teach us as much as we learn from you. You learn from us. And that's what professional learning is all about. Unlike in a class, you may have a hierarchy. Here, as teachers, we don't have a hierarchy. We are partners in learning. So think about it. In the meanwhile, if you have a question, type in the chat box. Gurdeep can answer the question. Let me set up the other book. The last screenshot automatically becomes the bookmark. Bookmark for 13th September added. Gurdeep, are there any questions to be answered?
No, sir.
Lovely. Why you see shapes in the clouds? Hello, this morning I posted a picture of the clouds. I don't know if some people saw it or not. So honestly, I had no idea that chapter 3 would be shapes in the clouds. I just posted. I was walking in the garden and I saw a beautiful picture of a blue sky with alto cumulus clouds. And it actually struck me that we all end up getting spondylosis. We all end up going down as Homo sapiens as we grow with age. It's because we forget to look up at the sky. And I was telling myself that our devices are making us look down so much. I don't think that's what life is not looking down, life is looking up. And that's why if you see even in our learning forwards, communication, brand design, of late, we got a new design made for the Learning Forward Foundation's homepage. Talks about growth, it talks about trust. And we have now in 9 months reached a stage where we hope that the art of thinking clearly, the secrets of perfect decision making will reach you. Why you see shapes in the clouds? Clustering illusion. In 1957, Swedish opera singer Fredrik Johnson. Jugjeet sir, how would you pronounce this? It can't be J.
Yeah, let me Google it.
Yeah. It can't be Jorgensen. That's not the right pronunciation because Swedes don't.
Yeah, must be.
Like Bjorn Borg, they don't say
Yeah.
Bjorn Borg. They don't say J.
Joranson, but maybe Johnson is right, I think. Let me just
Yeah. Yeah, just check it. You get the pronunciation. In the meanwhile, I'll finish the story. In 1957, Swedish opera Frederick bought a tape player to record his vocals. When he listened back to the recording, he heard strange noises throughout, whispers that sounded like supernatural messages. A few years later, he recorded bird songs. This time he heard the voice of his deceased mother in the background whispering to him, "Pride, my little pride, can you hear me? It's Mammy." That did it. Jorgensen turned his life around and devoted himself to communicating with the deceased via tape recordings. In 1994, Diane User from Florida also had an otherworldly encounter. After biting into a slice of toast and placing it back on the plate, she noticed the face of Virgin Mary in it. Immediately, she stopped eating and stored the divine message, minus a bite, in a plastic container. In November 2004, she auctioned the still fairly well preserved snack on eBay. Her daily bread earned her $28,000. In 1978, a woman from New Mexico had a similar experience. Her tortillas blackened. Her tortillas blackened. Spots resembled Jesus' face. The press lashed onto the story, and thousands of people flocked in New Mexico to see the Savior in burrito form. 2 years later, in 1976, the orbiter of Viking spacecraft had photographed a rock formation that, from high above, looked like a human face. The face on Mars made headlines around the world. There is also a story you may have read about a face on the wall. I remember reading it in school days. I'll try and find it for you. And you, have you ever seen faces in the clouds or the outlines of animals in rocks? Of course, this is perfectly normal. The human brain seeks patterns and rules. Yugjeev sir, we are back to the human brain. In fact, it takes it one step further. It finds no familiar patterns, it simply invents some. The more diffuse the signal, such as the background noise on the tape, the easier it is to find hidden messages in it. 25 years after uncovering the face on Mars, the Mars Global Surveyor sent back crisp, clear images of the rock formation. The captivating human face had dissolved into plain old scree. These frothy examples make the clustering illusion seem innocuous. It is not. Consider the financial markets, which churn out floods of data every second. Grinning ear to ear, a friend told me that he had discovered a pattern in the sea of data. If you multiply the percentage change of the Dow Jones by the percentage change of the oil price, you get the move of the gold price in 2 days' time. In other words, if share prices in oil climb or fall in unison, gold will rise the day after. His theory worked well for a few weeks until he began to speculate with ever large sums and eventually squandered his savings. He had sensed a pattern where none existed. So you look at a sequence, just look at this sequence in front of you. It's noughts and crosses. So there's a knot, there are three crosses, there is a knot, there are three crosses, there is a knot, there are two crosses, there are three knots and there's one cross, and there are two knots, there are two crosses and two knots. Is this sequence random or planned? Psychology professor Thomas Gilowick interviewed hundreds of people for an answer. Most did not want to believe the sequence was arbitrary. They figured some law must govern the order of the letters. Wrong, explained Gilowick. and pointed to some dice. It is quite possible to roll the same number 4 times in a row, which mystifies many people. Apparently, we have trouble accepting that such events can take place by chance. During World War II, the Germans bombed London. Among other ammunition, they used V-1 rockets, a kind of self-navigating drone. With each attack, the impact sites were carefully plotted on a map, terrifying Londoners. They thought they had discovered a pattern and developed theories about which parts of the city were the safest. However, after the war, statistical analysis confirmed that the distribution was totally random. Today, it's clear why the V1's navigation system was extremely inaccurate. In conclusion, when it comes to pattern recognition, you are oversensitive. Regain your skepticism. If you think you have discovered a pattern, first consider it pure chance. If it seems too good to be true, find a mathematician and have the data tested statistically. And if the crispy parts of your pancakes start to look a lot like Jesus' face, ask yourself, if he really wants to reveal himself, why doesn't he do it in Times Square or on CNN? Illusion of control, coincidence, false casualties. Think about it. Regain your skepticism. There is a hint in this one chapter which connects with the productive failure experiment. I leave it to you to guess and think about it. That is art of thinking clearly today. I'm glad we managed this chapter. That was an interesting one. Maybe some of us only come here for this chapter. That's why we keep it right in the end. So there goes your bookmark. Gurdeep, over to you.
Yes, interesting chapter. So I was thinking how to connect the two, and we can easily connect this with productive failure.
Yeah, it's very
This
easy.
chapter.
It's
Hmm.
actually very easy. So you're taking away two very interesting things today. The
Yes,
5 or 7
dividing. Yeah. Hmm.
comparative
Comparative, contrasting, good task, bad
and
task, and then
connect.
we see the pattern, and we
Yeah,
should not
and see the
assume.
pattern. So I'm giving you these questions now. I wasn't talking to you at this phase earlier because now it's my duty to ensure your blog posts start tumbling in.
Hmm.
And that is now the challenge for us. That's my productive failure, our productive failure. Learning forward not happening if we are not able to make you reflect. Jugjeev sir, are you ready with the quiz?
Leo, you can do it as Jorgensen, but if you go with the English one, Jorgensen, that's also fine.
Great. So, now this is very interesting. Art of thinking clearly. It's the same spelling, but it's a different place. And people think differently of the same thing in different places. So it's so jargonistic. Jugjeev sir, last word to you.
No, no, very interesting. Really interesting. You're right. I came for the art of thinking clearly, so you got me there. But I've just missed pieces of productive failure, so now it's a little going above my head. So that's the issue. But anyway, I think it's main thing is for for us to actually experiment. That example that was there last page, very clear in terms of a good task and a bad task. So, you know, I think the key is to implement. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jugjeev, this takes us to a classroom where teacher how to create experiential learning in a classroom. Because we've actually created experiential learning here with this productive failure and art of thinking coming together. And why I'm doing it like this, I don't know. I go back to my school days. This is how we were taught in school. When we read a book, we discussed about it, and we all took back our own reflections. So we are doing nothing new. We are just doing what we did 40 years back. It may sound different to you people because you are so now bogged down in 40 years to syllabus, to what CBSE says, to what NCRT does. Just forget all that. It's a question of doing 10 questions, 10 answers, and getting 10 marks. You can do that in 1 month with your class. I'm digressing a little. I'm asking you to read a little in your class. That could be your test of productive failure, how your class improves. No matter what you teach, no matter which school you're in, no matter what language you have, no matter what subject you teach, just carry a book to your class, not necessarily this one, any book you like. And in the next 12 months, try and read bits and pieces of it whenever you get a chance. And I promise you, your classroom environment will blossom. On that note, and on that one more trick, it's bye bye from us. We have given you 45 minutes because we took away 10 minutes in the beginning talking about housekeeping and other stuff. So I'm sure you've got your 45-minute lesson. Yes, some notes will come in the next half an hour or so, but the video now comes the next day because I need to go a little comfortably now. So video will be produced tomorrow morning after I have personally seen it, and I will give it to you by lunch tomorrow. Because if I don't do that, Jugdeep sir then sends the good school video which I replay after lunch. So I'll share something interesting with you how we put it all together. So we meet first Friday evening at 4 p.m. where we are doing an exciting experiment with Astaya Services. We are trying to create a pilot on how the best practices of not-for-profits can come into the school sector and reform educational administration. So we do that at 4 p.m. on Friday. It's about 1 hour. We meet the management of a school. We check on what they are doing. We check up what their failures are. We help them, advise them, and we also execute processes for them. Then comes 5:30 p.m. and we brew knowledge. Thank you, Nilashi. If you are here, you can come in and say hi. So we are reading a book. What did you ask at school today? And last week, Kamala was with us. And last week's selection of YouTube videos which came to you, Kamala's video was the most played video. Thank you for that. Then what happens is on Saturday morning, we need to look at the Kamala's or the Brewing Knowledge previous evening's video. We need to study it, create notes, use AI, use whatever we have, and produce something which we share with you next day. So likewise, what we do today at Brewing Knowledge, we will share with you on Saturday morning. What we do today at Masterclass, we'll share with you Sunday morning. But unfortunately or fortunately, Sunday is a full working day for us. So after My Good School finishes, we start the production of My Good School content. After we finish that, we start creating the newsletter because the newsletter has to carry the entire week's learning starting Friday afternoon to Sunday. School is 4 days, and 4 days work we have to do in 4 hours on the evening on Sunday so that you get a newsletter Monday morning at 7 a.m. sharp. And then Monday evening, finally, we meet. That's called the GSA squad. Some of you attend that. I'm looking forward to you, more of you coming to the GSA squad meetings. That's another experience of productive failure. We talk with each other, we realize what the challenges we face, and we get ready to welcome you for another week. On that note, see you next week. Thank you. Jugdeep sir, can we close?
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye.